This is an SM Media production. Hi everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the Sit Down here on SM Media. I am Scott McPike, and once again delighted to be here. This week I'm pleased to introduce Morgan Murrie, personal trainer, good friend of mine. Morgan, welcome to the show. Thanks very much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be on.
No worries at all. How you been?
Yeah, really good actually. Really good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. What about the current situation? How have you been kind of finding it?
Actually not bad. At first I found it a bit strange, obviously, but I quite like just being myself and doing my own thing. So it's actually been really good, and I've been quite lucky that I've been able to work throughout it, which I'm sure we'll go into at some point. But
Aye.
it's been, I think the worst part of it for me was not being able to see my gran.
Right, okay.
That was the worst part. But apart from that, I've been doing quite good. What about you? How have you been finding it?
I've been doing well. I just kind of back to work now, so everything's slowly getting there. But I just hope that's as bad as it's going to get.
I know.
What's been your kind of takeaway as well for like the pandemic? I know kind of yourself, you kind of rely on the gym a lot for your work.
Mm-hmm.
What's been your kind of big takeaway like from the whole thing?
So for me, I think it was utilising what you've got. Obviously, it's great when you've got a big gym and you can do so much with so many people, but it's allowed me to really go straight back to basics. Like when you start learning to PT, you get taught the bare minimum, and then from there you have to kind of learn the rest yourself. But for me, I can just strip everything right back with the little equipment that people had. Obviously, at the start, we couldn't do one-to-ones at all apart from over Zoom sessions.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just really trying to use people's body weight and utilising what they had. I mean, people's tins of beans came into handy so well.
Yeah. So like on that regard, do you think a lot of like particularly your kind of, I won't call them customers, I'll call them clients, but do you think a lot of them kind of relied on you during this whole thing for like more emotional support than anything else? Like,
oh, definitely. I'm really lucky with the group of girls that I've got. All my clients are females, not because I'm against training guys, it's just that most of them are. We use each other as a support system. I've got a group chat and a group that they've all become really good friends actually, which I think is really important. Especially for people that, for example, live alone or aren't getting to see their other halves or whatever, especially the first kind of 12 weeks when no one was really allowed to do anything. At the first kind of, I think it was the first 8 weeks I was running online classes, so there was maybe like 6 of us at 8 o'clock in the morning, and to be honest, it was more just for the social aspect of it. You'll know yourself, it's so important when you're stuck in 4 walls, it's so difficult. Obviously we're really lucky with technology now that we can all keep in touch, but it gets a bit boring speaking to the same people in your house every day.
I know, especially like as well, like we have needed each other, like we have needed to be with other people, like we've been missing. It's particularly like things like Zoom, which we're on just now, like it is a great thing to have, isn't it? Just to be able to talk to somebody that's maybe 5 miles away from your house, but you're used to kind of going to their house and seeing them. But I definitely agree with you. Well, can I start the interview? I've known you for a while. I've known you for a long time. Talk about your early years, kind of growing up. We're from the same area. Just talk about where you kind of grew up. And
so I'm just from next to Morrison's. I'm just box standard, right in the middle of Ayr. I was so lucky that I lived near everything. I could walk everywhere. School, went to Holmeston Primary just round the corner, and then went to Bellman. Bellman wasn't the best place to go. Well, I didn't like it. I didn't like school. I think I might have had a slight disadvantage because my dad taught at the school. People think that's an advantage, but it's not. It's definitely not an advantage. You get away with nothing.
Really?
Yeah, but do you know what? It was fine. Like, I think you either like school or you don't, and I just didn't. I just didn't like it. I didn't like sitting down. I didn't like that. So I left school at 17. I started working, my first job was when I was 14, but I went into full-time work when I was 17. After I'd got my exam results. I remember everyone was so shocked with the exam results I got, because I was so, like, I'm just me, like I don't really come across as like the most intelligent person, but I came out with like the best grades of the year and everyone was like, how did you even do that? And I just remember thinking, I'm never going to use these grades anyway.
So what were the kind of subjects you were good at? Like, I think, was your dad a PE teacher, am I right?
It was, yeah.
So were you kind of, was the PE the kind of focus?
I did love PE. It was difficult though, because every time I had an exam coming up for my hires, he'd be like, nah, just patch studying that, let's study PE. And I was like, oh great. And I remember I was just telling someone the other day this, I was terrible at badminton, like the worst. And he used to make me every lunchtime go in and play against him at badminton until I got better at it. So the only hour of my day that I got alone at school, I had to go and spend it with my dad doing badminton. It was so bad.
So when you say kind of school wasn't for you, did you have kind of plans leaving school, or like what you wanted to do? Or?
So my original plan actually was to go and do criminal law, which I got into, which was fine. Like, as I say, my grades were great. So I got into that. I went up to Stirling and chose my flat and everything like that because my brother had moved up there and that's where he was. So I'd gone up there, and I think about 3 weeks before I was due to move away, I was like, nah, I don't think I want to go. And my mum and dad were like, great. What? So I decided against that. At that point I was working in property though. I'd managed to get into a job in property. And I just kind of worked my way up there. I went from one estate agent that was just predominantly lettings, and then I moved to Donald Ross, which was lettings and sales, and to be honest I absolutely loved it. Like, property is one of those ones that you have to be really passionate about, but I actually was, so I found it really interesting. But the only thing that bothered me is just sitting about all day. You'll see me just now, I'm so fidgety, like I can't sit down. I need to be doing something. So that's obviously when I started teaching classes for my mum. So I don't, if those of you that don't know my mum, she's got her own fitness company as well, and about must have been 6 years ago she broke her ankle, and I kind of had to step up and take on her classes. So that's when I decided that I was going to fully qualify. And when I started teaching, something just clicked, and that was me. I was like, this is what I want to do.
So. Did you find it like straight away, like as soon as you say, like as soon as you started doing those classes, like I can make a career out of this? Like, was that?
Yeah, I mean, at first obviously it was just teaching at night. So I would work 5 days a week, 8 until 5, and then 4 nights I would go out and teach. But it just wasn't sustainable. I was absolutely knackered, because I'd be getting up at like 6 o'clock in the morning to go and train myself. Then I'd go and do my full day at work, and then I'd go teach. And honestly, by Friday, I was absolutely knackered. I was just like flat out. And that's when I kind of thought I could probably actually make this work doing it myself. But I knew that teaching classes probably wouldn't do it, so that's why obviously I went and did my level 3 personal training course. I just did that on the side whilst I was working, and then obviously last year, it was only last year I decided that I would go just take the plunge and go fully self-employed. Good.
And you obviously got into CrossFit as well, didn't you?
Yes.
So how did you get introduced to that?
When was that? That must have been 2 years ago, maybe. Yeah, it must have been 2 years ago. I'd remembered a couple of the girls, Chantel and Chelsea. I used to see them all the time. I worked part-time at Meridian in the Growler just to get some extra cash at the weekends and stuff. And I remember they used to come in all the time and be like, just come and join it. And I was like, nah, I'm not a CrossFitter. I'm not doing that. Like, no chance. Like, I was so against it. I was like, you just get injured and you just like flap about in the bar. I was like, that's just not for me. Just nah. And then one day I was like, do you know what? I'm going to go give it a go. Why not? I'm just going to go. So I went one morning to the 6 a.m. class, and honestly, I don't think I looked back after that. I just kept going. I just became completely hooked. For anyone that's not tried CrossFit and you're against it because of everything that you hear, I would 100% recommend going and actually giving it a bash. Obviously, you don't need to go into the competitive side of it. Just for the fitness aspect, it's phenomenal.
What's the intensity like? Is it a big difference between like training just like free weights and things like that? Do you notice?
Definitely. I mean, I obviously I was at Bannatyne's for years, and I did a few of the classes, but I was mostly just like weight training.
Yeah.
And when honestly, the first day I went to ULT, I was blowing out my arse. I was like, whoa, I am so unfit. But I thought I was really fit because obviously I was teaching my classes and stuff, but it's just a complete different ballgame.
Yeah.
I think it's because you're throwing so many different things into it. That's why it's called functional fitness, because you're trying to get so many different things in at once. But it just I feel the fittest I've ever felt, and obviously should shout out to ULT for keeping me sane during lockdown. They've been great, and they're the ones that have been able to get me to where I am. And it's such a good, it's good being strong, but see, feeling fit, it's such a good feeling.
Mm-hmm. So as well as that, like, did you find the benefit straight away when you get kind of changed course to do that kind of level of fitness? Did you find a benefit immediately? As you say, you were kind of blown out straight away, but did you notice the progression was there?
Yeah, definitely. So obviously it depends on what program you're following and things like that. Obviously the gym that I attend, ULT, have a great program that I follow, and you can see the progression as you do it. But see, even just adding a couple of kilo onto the bar, like, there's no better feeling, and everyone's there to like support you through it. And I think that's the difference between CrossFit and weight training. So weight training, you kind of go in and you put your headphones on and you just do your own thing.
Yeah.
At CrossFit, it's like a community. Like, it's hard to explain unless you've been in a gym, but everyone's like there for you. Like, there's no competitiveness until it's a competition, if that makes sense.
Right, okay.
So I think that's really important, and I've made some great friends through it, and it's going to be friends for life. Like, it's people that want to be, because you're like-minded. Everyone's there for the same thing. You're all there because you want to be, not because you have to be.
Mm-hmm. So when you're talking here about competitions as well, like, you can get into that. Was it a couple of years ago? I remember you mentioning that you were doing that. So was that CrossFit that started that?
Yeah, it was. Was it last year that was my first one? I think it was last June. Yeah, it was my first competition last June, and I'd only just recently gone on to a new program, which is like the competitive athlete side of ULT, and I'd only just recently gone on to it, and there was qualifiers. So the way that the competitions work is that the competitions send out qualifiers, and you do them in the gym, and you get a judge to record it, and then you send it in, and the top however many will then qualify for the competition. And I remember it was like the lowest level, and I just got in, and I was like, I just did it for I didn't think I was going to qualify, and I just did it for fun. And honestly, that competition was the biggest wake-up call for me ever, because I'm not a cocky person, but I always think I'm quite good at this or whatever. That was like the wake-up call I needed to be like, right, I'm actually not that good at this, like, even though I think I am. And I think sometimes people need that to kind of bring them down a level or two, which I think I needed. And it allowed me to kind of focus. I did do better than I thought I would do. I think I qualified like 60th, and I came like 32nd or something, which is fine. Like, it's still a massive difference. But that I needed that for me to be like, right, I need to actually start focusing on things a wee bit better. Obviously, CrossFit doesn't have to always be about the competitions, but the competitiveness is there if you want it to be. But that competition was the first one. I did another 3 last year, so that's 4 I've done. I had some set up for this year, obviously, but with the COVID, there's been nothing. Just, you can't really do them, can they?
But see, when you're saying that, like, when your competitions, obviously you get in. Where was the competition?
In Middlesbrough, and then the next one was Newcastle. Yeah.
Right, and you're going down, and there's kind of folk for different areas as well. Like, do you know what was the standard like? Like, was it crazy?
So yeah, I mean, you've got obviously your different tiers. So you've got like the lowest tier, they kind of call it, I suppose most competitions have 3. It's kind of like the football, you know, you've got like the Champions League and all that. I don't understand any of it, but you know what I mean. Look at me, I know something. So you've got like it's like your beginners, your intermediates, and your elites, basically. So the one I went into was called Scaled, so everything was basically scaled down. So it's for people that are new to CrossFit but still want to do the kind of competitive side of it. I remember the worst one I ever did in that competition. I had to do a 5k run carrying a sandbag, right? And I thought I was good being able to do like a 1k run. Like, I'm not a runner. Like, I'm not built to be a runner. And when I was at home practicing, I was like, yeah, I can do 1K fine. And then they were like, you're doing a 5K run with a 25 kilo sandbag. And I was like,
oh dear.
I was like, what? So that was like the standard for the beginners level. And then it just got harder and harder. But the elite level, like the top level, some of these athletes are absolutely insane. Like that's what people like me aspire to be.
Yeah.
Because to us, they're like, I don't know who famous footballers are. Ronaldo, is he even famous anymore? I don't know. But, like, do you know what I mean? So like, and it was just so nice to be able to watch that, because these people have jobs. These people are just like me. They've got a full-time job and they just do this for fun, but they're so good at what they do.
Yeah.
And I think it's just so aspiring to watch.
And would they offer you like advice as well? Like, would they like pull you to the side and basically talk you through it and things like that?
It kind of depends, really. Like we're quite good at ULT that we've obviously got such a good community. If any of us are competing, like a full squad of us go. Like everyone's like, let's just go and watch them all. So we're really lucky in the sense that I'm not saying we don't need extra coaching, but we've got such good coaches that they tell us what to do, and everything gets live streamed, and then the owner of the gym or the coaches or whatever are like, right, tell her to do this or tell her to do that. Like, it's really good. But do you know something? The best things about competitions is it's just so much fun. Like there's so much adrenaline, and everyone's just like, it's just good. Do you know what I mean? It's a nice community.
Yeah,
I don't think,
definitely.
I'm not sure if it will be like that now, but as I say, everyone always makes fun of CrossFitters because they're always like high-fiving and hugging and that, but that's like the best part of it.
Right, okay. Just while you're on that as well, you're mentioning there about, well, I mentioned there about people kind of talking you through things like that. When you were kind of starting out in the gyms and getting into kind of fitness and that, did you have any kind of people that you aspire to be, or were you like people close to you that you were kind of helping you through it?
So obviously my inspiration always has been is my mum. So when she used to be a regional manager of a travel agent, and then one day she came home, she had 2 young kids, me and my big brother, and she came home and she was like, do you know what, I think I'm going to be a fitness instructor. My dad and my gran and everyone was like, no, like you're not leaving a good job to do that. And she was like, do you know what, yeah, I am. So she just packed in her job and started a fitness company, and obviously my gran and papa like had to fund it a wee bit for her till she paid it back, kind of thing. Right. And they were like, you're making a mistake, you're never going to make it, blah blah blah. Like, and now 25 years down the line, she's still got a successful business that's managed to survive all the way through COVID as well, when a lot of small businesses aren't surviving.
Oh, definitely.
especially in the fitness industry. But she's done so well, and I think that's always been kind of like good for me to aspire to. As I say, don't get me wrong, there's been some times where she's like, you're not going to be able to do this full time. Like everyone goes through that. Like everyone's parents gets a wee bit, oh, like, are you sure you want to leave a good job? Like, I mean, I was an estate agent, it was a good job, it was a good paid job, and I was like, I'm just going to do it and see what happens, just wing it. And I've been really lucky that I have managed to make it work, but it's hard work. It is really hard work, and anyone that's self-employed, like, hats off to you, because it is people don't realise the amount of work that has to go into it.
Yeah. Especially now, like when it's been crazy times, like you've been.
I know, definitely.
It's been so much different. We'll switch gears a wee bit. We'll talk about something that I didn't know you'd even done this. That when it was a few years ago, you took part in Fame, the musical.
Yeah, so this is a side of me that people don't know about. So I started musical theatre when I was probably about 9.
Okay.
And my mum and dad have always said the words they always use is, you're such a drama queen. You're actually such a drama queen. And I was like, I'm going to use this to my advantage. I'm just going to go and do some drama stuff.
Yeah.
So I started that when I was really young, just at a place in Ayr called Fib, with Jackie, and she was great. Like, she really set me up for what I wanted to do. When I was younger, I always had this goal to be on the stage. It was always like, I'm going to be on the stage. And in a way, I have kind of done that, because when I'm teaching classes, I'm on a stage. So I'm not, it's the same but different. But I think I must have been maybe 11 when I went to the Kilmarnock one, and it was Chaos. It was called Kilmarnock Amateur Operatic Society, and it was the first like proper show that I was taking part in. I'd done like shows like Pantos and stuff, but this was like the proper show that people pay to go and see at the Palace Theatre. And the first one we did was Oliver, and then every year I just kept going back, and the best one for me definitely was Fame. Like, I know I don't look like a dancer, but I love dancing. But yeah, so I kind of got into that just through singing and dancing. I did dancing when I was younger. Every girl does dancing, but then I kind of fell away from it. And then I went to obviously to Chaos, and I was there for a few years. There was so many different shows we did. What did we do? We did Oliver, then we did, the next year was The Sound of Music, then The Wizard of Oz, then Fiddler on the Roof, and then the last one I did was Fame. Oh no, I did Sunshine on Leith as well, actually, which was a good one. Yeah, but it's just one of those ones that no one really knows about. Every time I say that to someone, they're like, you do what? And I'm like, musical theatre, yeah, I sing.
Do you miss it? Or would you go back to do that? Do you?
I love it. I love singing. I find as much comfort in singing and being on stage dancing as I do when I'm training.
Really?
Like, it's to me it's the same feeling. But the only issue I've got is obviously when you're doing a professional show like that, they need you in for rehearsals like 3 days a week. All the time, right? And I just now, I just don't have the time for it. And I know that sounds really bad. I should make time for myself and what my hobbies are, but the business is just, it's got to come first just now until I obviously build myself. Yeah. So,
as well as that, like, when you got into personal training, was the motivation kind of for working for yourself, was that the big thing? Like, or was it more towards like helping other people achieve their goals? Surely your first, when you're starting out doing your own kind of business, it's got to be, right, I've got to make some money out of it, first and foremost. Yeah. Was that the kind of big motivation at the start?
So I kind of actually just fell into the job at first. I was obviously still training for it, and then I was working at a call centre at the time, and it was up at Moss Hill Industrial Estate. And I remember my mum tagging me in this new gym opening, and it was Force Fitness, and it was in Moss Hill Industrial Estate as well. And they were looking for personal trainers, and my mum was like, why don't you just message them and tell them the situation? And I was like, do you know what? Fine, I'll just message them. Like, I hated my job in a call centre. Like, I cannot express how much I hated this job. Like, I don't like call centres, and it's nothing against call centres for people that work in call centres. It's just, I am not a call centre person. Like, see, when people would phone me with the same thing over and over again, like 400 times in a day, I was like, oh my God, I was like, I cannot cope with this. Like, I couldn't deal with it. And so many times I just ended up like hanging up on people, because I was like, if one more person wants to be about their windows.
So what was it you were doing in the call? What was it you were doing in the call centre? Like?
It was a double glazing company.
Right, okay.
It was hard work. But just like mentally draining. Do you know what I mean?
And were you kind of regretting giving up the kind of estate agent job at that time, or?
The reason that I had to do that was because obviously I was studying and I needed to go to part-time work. I couldn't study and work, because Donald Ross was great and I loved working at Donald Ross, but it was hard. Like, see, your days could be like 12, 13 hours long if there was still work to be done, and I couldn't justify it if I had to, like, obviously to achieve my dream I had to make sacrifices, and that's one of the sacrifices I had to make. Yeah. So I messaged the Force Fitness page, and I met up with the owners, and we basically just clicked straight away. And I went up to their old gym at Cumnock, and that's actually where I met Jack, my boyfriend. Okay. And that's just, it just kind of happened. And then she was like, right, we open in like 3 months, like, get yourself organised, get yourself a business. And I was like, huh? I was like, what? And I was like, Mum, I need help. I need to open a business. And my mum was like, what? So we just kind of, and you know something, as soon as I started advertising that I was going to be a PT, I got such an influx of support. It was amazing. It was so overwhelming. I think I'm really lucky that because I'm doing it in air and I'm quite well known in air, not in a cocky way, it's just that because obviously the age group that we are, like, we all just knew each other. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely,
because all of our skills were quite, not combined, but we all got on really well.
We all kind of knew. We knew who each other, like, everybody else was, like, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And when you walk by the street, you'd be like, oh, there's
Yeah,
that person. You wouldn't
exactly.
know them to see. You wouldn't know them who they were,
To
but you would
talk
know
to
who
them,
they were.
but
Aye,
yeah.
and it was
But
kind of bizarre, but aye, like as you say, like that would have obviously helped you.
oh,
You know,
definitely.
because a lot of your friends would have been in a similar boat, like wanting that kind of advice, and when you're yourself kind of getting into it,
I think the issue is just now, Scott, is that girls, especially young girls, kind of 17, 18, are still very reluctant to go into gyms.
Right, okay.
They'd rather go out for runs, or they would rather go to classes, or they'd rather just do HIIT and burn hundreds and hundreds of calories. Like none of them want to go in and do weight training themselves.
Right.
And I think for me, that's actually probably what pushed me into going into personal training, because I remember one time going into Valentine's and I went over to the free weight section and I was just about to shoulder press. I don't know what I was going to shoulder press, at 16s or whatever. And I remember this guy coming over to me and he was like, "Excuse me, hon, I think you're in the wrong place. The treadmills are up the stairs." And I was like, and I was so offended, because it was as if like females shouldn't be lifting weights.
Right.
And I think in this day and age, people need to realise that, yeah, okay, see if you don't want to lift weights, don't lift weights, right? But see if you want to, then just go and do it. Don't be intimidated by people. And I'm not just saying that it's guys that are intimidating. There's a lot of females in gyms that are intimidating for young girls as well. And that's why for me, most of my clients are people either around my age that are scared to go into the gyms themselves, or middle-aged women that are also scared to go into the gym themselves. That's kind of my two clientele. And for me, that's important to see them. Like, there's nothing better than me seeing my clients when they're not with me and they're in the gym lifting weights.
Yeah.
That's so nice for me to see, because I've been able to progress them to be able to do that themselves.
Yeah. So do you think as well, like, as you say, it was kind of your dream job, but was it, you're growing your client base as well, like, as you say, about your friends and things like that, but there was people coming up to you, like, you didn't know, basically wanting that advice, like,
Yeah.
was that more of a kind of push as well to kind of build that relationship straight away with people I didn't know?
I think as well as people just coming up to you, social media is so important now. Like, if you don't have your social media on point, then your business is probably not going to do that well. Most business I get is from social media. I try and put up posts at least twice a day, and people are probably like, "Oh my god, there she is again, shut up." But it gets people engaged. As soon as you get people engaged, like, that's how you get people interested. They want to see results. They want to see you giving people advice. Like, they don't want to see me. They don't want to see pictures of me. They want to see pictures of my clients doing well and stuff like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And I think that's taken me quite a while to realise. I always had it in my head that I had to be this perfect role model. Like, I had to be constantly on top of my physique and everything like that. And see, in reality, it's not always like that. It can't always be like that. I would be going on holiday and I'd be concerned about putting on weight. And Jack would be like, "Morgan, your clients don't, you're normal. Like, I'm just a normal person, the same as everyone else. I'm not a robot." Like, and clients know that, but I think sometimes it's quite difficult to establish that that's not what people are interested in. They're interested in what advice you have to give rather than what you look like as a person.
Absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, I think it's always good to look good as a PT, but it also isn't the be all and end all.
Yeah, and there's a few the kind of similar age to us that are doing the same as well. Like, do you ask each other for advice and talk to one another?
So the fitness industry is a bit kind of like the hairdressing industry. If anyone works in hairdressing, it's not the nicest of industries to work in. Okay. Unless you've got a good group of people, everyone tends to be against everyone, and it's horrible. I hate that side of the fitness industry. I've got some really good friends that are in the business though. I mean, Nikki Jameson, I get on really well with her. We work together at the gym group. She's the same age as me, but obviously she went to Kyle. And she does absolutely amazing. Like, she's absolutely smashing everything that she's doing. I've been really lucky in the gyms that I've worked in. I've got on really well with everyone. And obviously I'm just about to start teaching classes out of an all-females gym. And I think that's going to be really good as well, because female empowerment and all that, like, let's get the females involved, like,
yeah.
And do you know something? Say as long as PTs aren't spiteful or just competitive, there's no need for it. Like, there's enough people that want PT out there for everyone. For everyone.
I think every business is like that as well. Like, there is that cutthroat side to it of,
I know,
you're not stealing anything off of me. It's mental.
I know.
I've never
and I'm just not like that. Like, I'm just not. I've always said, see, if someone comes to me and I don't think, like, I'm not one of these people that will take on anyone and everyone. I need to make sure that I fit them and they fit me. And if they don't, I will always recommend them to go to someone else. Like, I'll give them names. I'll be like, this person's really good for this. Like, so, for example, Jack's really good at the sporting side of it. So people that want to get into sports kind of side of it, whereas I'm not really. I'm more of like a weight loss transformation coach.
Okay.
So if someone comes to me that's interested in, for example, if they wanted to play rugby and they wanted to get really good at skills and stuff, then I'd be like, look, here's Jack's information, contact him. Yeah. It's not that I'm not interested, it's just that I don't have enough knowledge in that field to be able to do it. And I don't want to be a bad coach. I'd rather coach people that I know what I'm focusing on. Yeah.
Do you think as well, as you say, sticking to one specific thing opens you up to more people? Like, because if you try and do everything, does it make it harder to get a different level of client particular? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm not actually sure, because obviously I've always had my kind of niche of who I like having in. Most people do come to me for weight loss. That's predominantly the people that come to me, which is fine. Like, I can help people with that, but I've also had girls come to me that need to go the opposite way. So they've had eating disorders, or they've had anything like that, and they need to gain a wee bit. Like, so one of my most loyal clients, she's been with me since the beginning, and she's been doing 3 sessions with me every single week since. And she actually used to suffer really badly from eating disorders, and she's managed to gain weight. She's sitting the heaviest that she's sat in probably about 10 years, but she looks absolutely phenomenal. She feels amazing, and she's not scared to go into the gym herself now, whereas before she was. And that, to me, I've reached my goal on that. Like, I've transformed her to the way that she wanted to be, and we've become really good friends in the process.
Brilliant, good. Are you goals orientated? Like, is that your
always?
Yeah,
always.
I think a lot of people, like, in your kind of industry are. Like, I think I've noticed that talking to people. Yeah. Goals are the main thing.
I think for anything, I don't even just set goals within training and stuff. I set goals within my whole life. See, if you have something in front of you and it's sitting in front of you, you're going to go towards it. So I actually started this from James Smith. I don't know if you know James Smith, the guy. He's a online PT. So he does loads of podcasts, and I listen to him all the time. He's massive now. He now lives in Sydney, but he's absolutely massive as an online coach. He's got his own academy and stuff like that. Yeah. And he said that when he came out of his PT course, he made a vision board, and he wrote on that how much money he was going to make and what he was going to achieve in the next 3 months, 6 months, and a year. And because it was sitting right in front of him, he made sure that he hit every single one of them. Yeah. And I think that for anything in life, it's really important to set a goal. Because see, if you're not setting a goal, what are you actually working towards?
I know, I totally agree with you. I think it's like
what.
I think as well that we're all set up to basically what we want to do. We've got an idea in our head, but once you put that down in paper, that's it on paper.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like I'm quite stubborn. If I write something down and I'm not getting there, I'm like, right, what can I do to change this? Because, do you know what I mean? I think a lot of people are like that as well, though. Like, my mum has a vision board in the front room, because if she writes things down, she knows that she's going to get it.
Yeah. Just while you're on your family, how big an influence are your family to you? Because all the time whenever I see you in like social media, I see you wherever, you're always talking about them. Always.
Oh, I know.
I know. Like that.
I feel like people are probably fed up looking at photos of my family, but do you know something? I couldn't be where I am without my family. Like, my mum and dad have been such a good support system for me through everything. Like, I've had many a job. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Then I changed and I chopped and I changed, and I didn't have the best time. Like the last couple of years haven't been great for me.
Yeah.
Obviously I've gone through some mental struggles and things like that, and honestly I could not thank them enough for being they're just like my support system. The same with my brother. Like my brother doesn't live here. He now lives in Edinburgh, and he has done for probably about 6 or 7 years, but I make sure that I speak to him every single day. Like, and obviously I'm quite a family orientated person anyway. Like my gran and my papa, who sadly passed away in January, they were like my rocks. My papa's always been my rock.
Yeah.
And my gran now, like, I make sure I phone my gran at least 3 or 4 times a week. I go and see her all the time. Like, she's great, and she's so supportive. Like, I can't imagine anyone not having that.
Yeah,
I just can't imagine it. It must be so hard, because my mum and dad especially put up with so much, and they do so much for me as well. Obviously I'm not actually returning back to the gym. My mum and dad have turned my front room into a gym for me. So I'm going to be doing all my PTs from my house now. And I mean, they've sold all their furniture and everything so that I can do that, and not many parents would do that. So I can't honestly express how grateful I am to have such a good family around me.
That's excellent to hear that. And as well as that, I wanted to ask you, how did the TikTok start? I remember at the start of lockdown, every day there was a different TikTok coming out.
I actually forgot about it. I can't even remember it. Oh, do you know what it was, right? I tried to teach my mum the hold down, throw down. Do you remember the hold down, throw down from the Miley Cyrus film?
I think I do.
I don't know if anyone will remember this, right? It was Hannah Montana, and it was the hold down, and I tried to teach her it over and over again, and she just, see, for being a fitness instructor, she's got no sense of coordination. And I was like, Mum, every time I'd do a left arm, she'd do a right, and I'd be like, you're doing it wrong. And I was like, maybe we should just start doing TikToks. And then as soon as we did one, everyone was like, we want more. And I think we ended up doing about 40 of them.
Yeah, there was one every day. I was like, they were all brilliant as well. Like, they were.
Oh, we had so much fun. And one time we were out a walk, and this guy was out on a bike, and he was like, hey, it's the 2 lassies that do the TikToks. And I was like, oh, jeez. I was like, this is not okay.
So when you were like going through lockdown as well, like, was you having your family there with you? Were you talking about what you were going to do after lockdown was over, like getting that plan in place? As you say, like your mum and dad had basically sacrificed a lot so you can kind of have a lot. So were you kind of talking through it?
The issue was, obviously, we didn't know how long we were going to be in lockdown, what was going to happen after it. Like, my dad's obviously a teacher, so he's got job security. He's fine. He knows he's going back. My mum's been doing her online classes. She does 3 classes a day for all her clients, which is great. But it wasn't until we kind of got deeper and deeper into lockdown that I was a bit kind of like, this is a bit worrying. Like, I don't know when this is going to end. And then I thought to myself, the way that when they started to open things up, but obviously capping numbers, I started thinking, geez, I was like, if they're going to start capping gyms, I was like, how am I supposed to PT out of gyms? And then I started to kind of go into overdrive thinking, how are we going to do this, Mum? Because obviously my mum can have between 30 and 40 people in a class at any one time, and she's just not going to be able to do that anymore. So we just kind of had to brainstorm ideas and think. Originally we wanted to build something in the back garden, but the garden just isn't big enough. I've got 2 dogs, and it just wouldn't be fair to cut more of the garden away, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
So this was kind of the only option that we had that would cater for both my mum and myself, because obviously she doesn't know when she's going to be able to go back, so she's going to have to continue to do the online classes, so she'll just use the front room as well. But I think it was more the fear of the unknown. I don't like that. I don't like surprises. I'm not a surprisey person, so don't ever try and surprise me with anything, because I hate it. Like, honestly, it's a nightmare. See, even for my birthday, when Jack was like, oh, I've just bought you something, I'm like, tell me what it is. And he's like, no, it's a surprise. I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm going to fall out with you if you don't tell me what it is. And I don't like that. I like to know what's happening and when it's happening and how it's happening. And unfortunately, everyone's been in the same boat though. No one's really known. So we've kind of just had to take every day as it comes. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. It's been wild, but as you say,
I actually still can't believe it. I cannot believe we're in August, nearly September. What a year. We've just had a wasted year.
Mm-hmm. It's been weird. Like,
it has been
weird. Yeah, like I'd planned to do this much sooner. And I remember I was telling you like ages ago.
That was like February. I was actually saying that because I was actually chatting to Calvin McCord. I was chatting to him about it, and I was like, we actually organised this in like February or something.
Yeah, I know, it's just been wild. Like, I was trying to just get things going, but it was like, I think as well, like, we'll get on to kind of the kind of mental struggles you went through, but I think there was a big loss in motivation for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah,
like,
I know.
You didn't know what was happening one day to the next. I still think we don't as well, but it was so difficult. Even now, it's still hard, but well.
I know. I think I always did feel for people that lived themselves though, because
if
I didn't have, and I was really lucky because Jack moved in as well, so we were really lucky that, so there was the four of us in here. We had a great laugh, like, do you know what I mean? We did the TikToks and we just kind of chilled for the first kind of 4 or 5 weeks, and then I was like, I actually should probably do some work or something, like, because it was kind of, at first it just felt like a holiday, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. It felt like a holiday, and then kind of, as you say, like a month into it, it was like, it's not feeling good anymore. Like,
it's not a holiday anymore.
Life, and there was nothing to do as well. Like, usually, like, if I'm on holiday or something, like, there's usually something on at night, like football or something, and I was like, right, watch that. There was nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Especially was it not like the first 12 weeks or something, you could only go out the house once.
Yeah.
Once a day you're allowed out the house, and you're like, I've been for my walk and it's only 9:30 in the morning. What am I supposed to do?
I know. And it was like supermarkets as well. Going into supermarkets was crazy at the start. But it still is a wee bit, but
I still find it so surreal, people walking about with masks on. I just cannot get used to it.
Yeah, so that's crazy. But we'll switch gears. We'll, like, obviously, like you mentioned it earlier about your kind of mental struggles. Just if you're all right, talk to us about it. Just what kind of went on.
So I'm very much one of these people that if something bad happens, I'm like, it'll be fine, I'll deal with it tomorrow. Like, I need to keep working. I am 24/7. My mum and dad say I'm like a Duracell bunny. I never stop. Like, I can't be doing nothing ever.
Right. Okay.
And I'm quite hard on myself because I don't allow myself a break. Like, even when I'm on holiday, like last year, I went out to Cyprus to see my best friend Katie, and even when I was there, I was at the gym twice a day or whatever, and she was like, can you just chill out, you're on holiday? And I was like, I know. I was like, but you know, I've got to keep doing something, I'm going to be busy. Like, I can't just do nothing. And I think that's actually quite a negative thing. Like, I should be able to switch off, but I just can't.
Yeah.
And as I say, if something bad happens, I'm like, I'll deal with it tomorrow. I'll deal with it another day. Like, I'll deal with it another time. And I don't really let anything sink in until I kind of sit down and I'm like, whoa, I've actually been through quite a lot. And the first issues kind of started when I was 16, and I let it settle, didn't really do anything about it. Something else happened when I was maybe 17 or 18, and I just kind of let it just sit, and I've never dealt with it. I don't really speak to people about my problems because I don't want to be a burden. So if my classic phrase, and Jack will back me up, is, I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm fine. I'll deal with it. I'm fine. So, as I say, things just built up, and then obviously with my papa passing in January, that was me. I hit rock bottom, and for anyone that has been at rock bottom and managed to climb themselves back up, massive hats off to you, because it is shit. It's awful. Yeah. See, when you hit a point in life where there's no purpose of life,
right.
I can't even describe how awful it is. And I remember back, obviously in January, when I started to get help and things like that, I remember so many people saying to me, but you're so happy all the time. You're so happy all the time. And I was like, yup, but that's just the problem nowadays. Everyone thinks everyone's just happy all the time. And I think social media has a lot to do with it. If it wasn't for my business, I would not have social media, because I think that it causes a lot of issues. I mean, look at Caroline Flack, for example.
Yeah.
She was she got completely abused over social media, and look where that turned out for her. And I think especially for young people and guys, especially because guys don't like to admit it, if you need help, just get it. That's all I can say.
Absolutely.
Just get it. Don't be ashamed to get it. And see if you don't want to go and wait. So I originally went to the NHS and they put me on a waiting list, and last week I got my letter through to say that there was space available. Now that's what, we're now in August, that was January, 7 months down the line.
No, it's not good enough.
It's not. And yeah, okay, this pandemic is crazy, but mental health is a pandemic as well. And people
Absolutely.
need to remember that, especially during this time when people are isolated, they're lonely, they're bored. Yeah. People are gaining weight because they're binge eating or whatever, then they're getting depressed over the fact that they've gained weight.
Right.
There's no gyms to go to. There's so many different things. Like, people can't see their family. People are alone in 4 walls. Like, this needs to be addressed ASAP, but it's not. There's just no money going into mental health, and it's a shame because it's going to end up, it's going to be awful if it doesn't get sorted. Like, you see it in the news all the time.
Yeah. Did you kind of lose motivation, like when you were particularly training? Like you've told me before, training's your kind of your be all end all. Like that's the one thing you do consistently. Did you lose the motivation to do that when you were kind of dealing with this?
Yeah. So when Pops passed away, I don't think I went to the gym for about 3 weeks. And see, for me, that is massive.
Right. Okay.
Massive. Like, I had the coaches messaging me, "Are you okay? Is everything okay?" Like, because normally I'm in the gym twice a day. So they see me all the time, and see to not then see me, like, I just couldn't. I honestly just went into my room all the time, and I just sat there. I didn't want to see anyone. I didn't want to see Jack. I didn't want to see, and that's I think when people were like, "There's actually something wrong here." I'd recently lost my job in force as well, so I was stressed. There was a lot of things just adding up that I needed to speak to someone, and I was, as I say, with my family support, I was really, really lucky that I went privately to counselling that my parents and my brother very kindly paid for. And 6 sessions and I was discharged. He hypnotised me, he did something magical, I don't know what he did, but honestly I came out like a new person.
Yeah.
If anyone is watching this and is struggling, please reach out. Give me a message. I'm happy to speak to you and give you Kevin's details. Honestly, he's a lifesaver. Yeah. For me, he did save my life. So
yeah, I'll put his link down as well, because I have heard stories of how well he does, particularly yourself. Like I've heard he's good. As well as that, like you mentioned, your family put up kind of the money to get you the counselling. How big a motivation were they to kind of help you through it?
So for me, basically, I got taken into hospital because I overdosed. I'll just say that because it's been on the internet anyway. So I ended up in the hospital, and my dad was on a night out at the time, and he turned up fully kitted out in his suit and his tie, raging, because obviously I've just mucked up his night out, as you would be. And see, when they walked in and the look on their face, see, for that was me. I was like, I need to sort my shit out. Like, if that had gone too far and I had gone too far, like, they'd be left without a daughter. Like, and when I saw their faces, that did something to me. And I was like, do you know something? They were great after it. And do you know, all the girls at the gym, hats off to them, they were all great. All my clients, everyone was so supportive, because they always thought that, like, I'm a strong person. Everyone always says, you're such a strong person, like, you've been through so much and you deal with so much. And do you know something? I do. I deal with it, and I just let it boil away at me. And I am a strong person. You'll very rarely see me cry. I'm a very strong person. But something, as soon as I saw my mum and dad's face, I was like, I could have fucked this. Like, and that's what I think made me realise that I had to make a change.
Good. Do you feel as if you're getting there now? Like,
oh, definitely. definitely. I thought when obviously things got released that we weren't going to have gyms and stuff, I was like, oh my God, I was like, this is going to be a disaster. I was like, because obviously, as you said, I have always used the gym as my go-to to, you know, it lets off steam. Anyone that doesn't train and thinks that it's pointless, honestly, if you're stressed or anything, it lets off so much steam. It's great. It's really good for that. But again, I was really lucky that my mum and my dad were like, look, we'll get you gym equipment, you can train here, it's not a problem. And then Jack brought me down loads of his weights because he had weights at the house anyway, and I've been really lucky in that sense that I've been able to train. You don't need equipment to train though, as I've said, you can do it with the bare minimum. I think it was quite difficult to get myself up and moving, but as soon as I saw my mum teaching her class or whatever, I was like, right, she's up, I'll get up, I'll go and train, and I'll feel better for it. And I did.
Brilliant. But it's just good to hear that you're getting back to yourself, because I think that's a big thing as well. Like, you've got to feel good about yourself.
Definitely.
And I think you'll agree.
It's difficult as well when you're going through stuff, trying to run a business. I mean, trying to run a business is hard enough. Anyone that's self-employed will understand trying to run a business is hard enough. But see, when you're dealing with your own shit as well, it's tough. It is really quite difficult, and you need so much willpower, but you also need to use your support system. And anyone that doesn't have a support system, please reach out, speak to me, speak to Scott, speak to someone.
Absolutely. Well, can I move on to the future? I think we're all kind of desperate to get there, get to some sort of back to normal life. What's the plans? What's the plans after, you know, you get the gyms open, you're allowed clients in, things like that? What's the next step in your career?
Cool. So I'm going to be obviously PTing out of my home studio, which is getting floored currently, actually. So that's all getting floored. So that'll be good because I've also got loads of new weights, new equipment and everything coming. It's really exciting. I'm excited for it. And I'm going to be teaching classes from Flo's Fitness Boutique, which is down Crown Street. All females gym, and it's classes, there's yoga, there's Pilates, there's all those stuff that women love. So that'll be good fun. I enjoy teaching classes, so that'll be nice for a kind of change because I've not done that in a while. So yeah, I'm really excited to get my clients back in. As I say, I've still been working the last kind of month or so when we've been allowed to see people. I've been doing outdoor sessions, I've been going to them, they've been coming here, blah, blah, blah. So it's been good having them back, and just, it's so different having someone in front of you than trying to do it yourself. And I think that was important for my clients to obviously get that back. But yeah, I think the Fitness Boutique Flo's is going to be good fun because it's all females. I think it'll be a good laugh. Obviously with the government guidelines we need to be careful with numbers and things, but everywhere is going to be the same. Absolutely.
And how do you see the fitness industry changing after what's happened?
You know, I listen to podcasts. I go out a walk every day and I listen to fitness podcasts. I'm such a geek, I know. And you'll probably see me like stomping around there with my headphones on. So they were talking about how it's an American podcast, and they were talking about how in America 40% of gyms have had to close because of the COVID, like they've just not got any money to fund it anymore. And that makes me really sad because all of these people are obviously doing it from scratch, the same as me. I think a lot more people are going to be training from home though. I think a lot of people now know that they can train from home and will be. A lot of people are still very skeptical about going back into gyms because of the closeness you'll be with people. And it's the same way everyone's going to be scared to do everything for a first time, I think. It's the same with like swimming pools. Like people are going to be like, oh, do I really want to go in there? Which is a shame because these gyms are trying to make a living the same as everyone else. For me, nothing's really changing apart from the fact that I'm not going to be working out of a gym. I'm still going to go down to ULT and train with all my girls. I'm still going to be able to see all my clients, and I'm going to obviously be teaching the classes. But a lot of people will not be. And I think that for me was another reason why I had to decide to move away from the gyms, because a lot of my clients who are older just point blank said they're not going back to a gym because they don't feel comfortable. And I was like, well, if I'm going to be losing 50% of my clients, I need to make a change.
Yeah.
So it's just really, it's kind of one of these ones you've got to speculate to accumulate, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And as well as that, like you mentioned earlier on about online, how important's kind of online coaching been to yourself and, as you say, your clients' kind of mental health, just keeping them on the track, because the 5 months they've not been able to kind of do what they're used to doing, and yourself, you've been in the same boat. How important's kind of the online division been to get that, get that kind of communication and relationship?
So I think, see, for people like me, I will train if I feel shy, if I feel great, because it's like dialed into my head that I will train. Yeah. It's like part of my day. But see, for like your random Sally that trains because she knows that she has to go to the gym twice a week. Yeah. See, for me, sending her a wee message being like, hi, make sure you do your training today. She'll be like, nah. Or she'll just reply and be like, okay, I've done it, when she's actually not, kind of thing. Like, because people don't, there's more to it than motivation. Like, yeah, okay, you need to be motivated to do it, but you actually need to implicate it to be able to do it. And I think a lot of people can't do that themselves. They need someone there to be watching them. It's accountability at the end of the day. They need to be accountable to someone. And that's why it's really important that if I say, right, I'm doing a Zoom call at 1 o'clock, I will tell you the workout and you're doing it there and then, because I'm there watching them and they're going to do it. Yeah. And it also gives them that time where I can just be like, how's things? Mm-hmm. How are you feeling? Yeah. Is there anything you want to talk about? I'm really lucky, as I've already said, that my clients have all become really good friends of mine. And I honestly speak to my clients more than I speak to Jack, probably. Okay. They message me all the time. I don't think I have a single day where I've not spoke to every single one of my clients. I check in with them every single day because I think that's important. Absolutely. I'm some of these people, I'm the only person they have. Right, okay. So I want to make sure that they're getting checked on. And you know what? That's not in my job description. And I make life harder I make life harder for myself because I put so much pressure on myself. But I like to check up on them. I send them all, every single one of them, a message in the morning in the group chat just saying, morning guys, this is what I'm having for my breakfast. Hope you all have a lovely day. And you know what? Half of them probably go, oh, shut up, Morgan. I'm fed up looking at what you eat for your breakfast. But see, for the other half, that's the only chat they get that day. Right. And I think, to me, if that was me and their situation, I try and put myself into their situation, that message would mean so much more to me because I'm getting that. Yeah, so definitely.
Brilliant. Delighted to hear that. Are you all right closing in some quick fire questions?
Okay.
Right. Okay, we'll start. I've got them here. First of all, favourite sport?
Ooh, volleyball.
Volleyball. Right. Are you a football fan?
Can be. Depends.
Right. What's your favourite team?
Celtic.
Right, okay.
You weren't expecting that.
I wasn't expecting that at all. If you had a dinner party tomorrow and you can invite 3 famous people, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh, that's a good one. Michael McIntyre.
Right, okay.
Kevin Bridges. And Katrin Davidsdottir, who's a famous athlete. She's a CrossFit athlete.
Right, okay. There'd be a lot of laughs at that table, wouldn't there?
That would be so funny.
I was going to ask Fitness Hero, but I think you've just answered that.
Yeah, Katrin, definitely.
Brilliant.
Definitely.
Biggest pet peeve. This doesn't have to be anything fitness. This can be anything at all, like leaving lights on or anything like that. What's the biggest pet peeve you've got?
What, that annoys me the most? Yeah. When Jack doesn't open the windows in the morning.
Really?
Yeah. If he's watching this, I'm telling you right now, Jack, I swear to God, open the bloody windows in the morning.
What is your favourite movie and TV show?
Oh, movie Green Street.
All right, okay.
TV show Friends.
Still a Friends fan?
Oh, I've always been a Friends fan. You know what I'm like? I can't get enough of it.
Brilliant. One interesting fact about yourself that nobody watching will know.
Ooh. I have a bed full of teddy bears from when I was a child.
You've just answered my next question as well, because I was going to ask what's the one thing you've still got for your childhood. So that's a 2-in-1 there.
Yeah. I know. All my teddies, they all sit in my bed, all lined up perfectly.
Are you still a child at heart?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like I'll never grow up.
Nah, I don't either. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Morgan, it's been an absolute pleasure. I can't thank you enough for coming on. It's been great to listen to your story.
Thanks very much for having me.
No problem at all. All the very best for the future, and thanks very much. It's been great.
You too. Speak to you soon.
Thanks very much, Morgan. That's been great.